All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a way too early mock draft, 2024 mock draft. We're really excited for this one. We essentially made this podcast just because we love the draft so much, and we want to talk about the prospects. And we're getting into the prime of college football season right now. We've got some championship games this weekend, so it's going to be a really fun mock. I'm excited to talk about. How are you doing?
It's a great episode to be alive for the NFL draft fiends. This is probably our one of our favorite things. I mean, we're obsessed with the draft process, and it's just barely turned early December, and I'm ready. I'm ready to start learning about these prospects. I'm ready for a way too early mock draft, and this is my favorite time of the year. I almost like it more than the season.
100%. And let's get into it. We're going to be alternating every other pick. I'm going to start us off with pick one. Interesting pick. And is there anything else you want to say before we get into it?
I'm just excited. I'm excited to talk about these guys. This is like the time where we can all be hopeful.
Mhm.
There's no discouraging things going on when we talk about the draft. It's just all hope at this point. And so my favorite time of the year. I love it.
Yeah, if there's any fans of teams that have kind of checked out this season and you're looking forward to the draft, and this video will be perfect for you. I don't know if the recaps will be good for you guys because they're a little bit depressing. But yeah, this video will be perfect for anyone looking forward to April. And yeah, let's just get into it. I'll start us off with the first pick, and it's an interesting dynamic. You got Justin Fields. He's playing, decent the last few weeks. And I just think personally, I'll just get out of the way. You have the opportunity to get Caleb Williams or Drake May in this building, and on top of it, trade Justin Fields for like a second or third round pick. So it just feels like that is just a beautiful move. It feels like the move that has to be done. And in this case, I will be taking Caleb Williams to the Bears first overall. Just the best quarterback prospect personally that I've seen since 2017, and Andrew Luck. He is just perfect on every single element on the field. Really, he did have a few issues against pressure in 2023. I will say that his PFF pressure grade in 2023 is 39.3 so far, but his no pressure grade is 93.4. His deep ball grade is 95.5, and everyone knows that when you watch Caleb Williams, he can do anything. He has the same mannerisms of Mahomes, and he's just a talent. But what would you do with this pick?
See, I struggled, and that's why ultimately you're picking first in this one because my head is too all over the place with this one. Because I am still a firm believer in Justin Fields, but when you're picking at the top of the draft, and obviously this is the pick from the Panthers, but when you're still picking in the top five, with your regular pick, it's just like it's hard to not go that route, and especially when there's a generational type quarterback prospect in this draft. I mean, quarterback's the most important position in football. It's the one that if you have it right, your team will always be competitive. And so, yeah, obviously Justin Fields hasn't shown enough. He's really got to finish out this season strong if he wants to keep his job. But I mean, when you're sitting here at the number one pick, unless and obviously we're not going to be doing trades in this one. But unless you're getting offered, the absolute barn for this number one, then I think you have to sit put and you have to, take a generational quarterback. I mean, this is like higher hype than, Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck. I mean, Caleb Williams is probably one of the most electric college football players we've ever seen. And he has been since he was at OU. And yeah, so I do agree with this. I am still a believer in Justin Fields. I hope they're able to trade him to a team that could utilize him, a little bit better. And get in a system almost like the Ravens, a John Harbaugh type system. I was even just throwing out. I feel like a good trade fit too would be like the Saints if they were, willing to give up a second and maybe, a late six or something for Fields. Cause I mean, the potential's still there, but yeah, I agree. Caleb Williams has to go number one, no matter what. He's the most electric college football player we've seen in the last decade.
All right, and let's hear who's going number two then to the Cardinals.
And then this is a really this is a really good class just from top end talent. Obviously, this is going to be the easiest no brainer pick. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray needs some, it's their biggest need per PFF. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of those blue chip Bijan Robinson type prospects of this draft. You can't go wrong with him. His dad is a former Hall of Famer, for the Colts, and he's just electric. And like you've said, Dan, I've gone through, I've watched the tape on Marvin Harrison Jr. and you've been telling me that this guy should win the Heisman. You're like, it's a quarterback's position to win the Heisman, but he is the quarterback of his team. He's single-handedly made his team relevant on offense, and he's probably the best wide receiver prospect. Again, like these two, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., probably the best prospects from their positions in the last decade, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for the last few weeks. It just seems like with no real quarterback option emerging as the Heisman, Marvin Harrison does deserve that. I mean, I guess the Michigan loss hurts, but Ohio State was a top team the whole year, and Marvin Harrison was their quarterback. He was their entire production and offense, and he was the reason. He was all of Kyle McCord's stats. So yeah, Marvin Harrison, just what a prospect. He's the smoothest receiver you'll ever see. He's just the perfect receiver prospect, and the Cardinals are going to have a great chemistry with him and Kyler Murray if they want to go that direction. That's fun.
And I kind of wanted to point this out too, is Marvin Harrison could go one if the Bears stick with Fields. He's the number 2 prospect behind Caleb Williams. And the Bears keep Fields. Marvin Harrison Jr. could be the number 1 overall pick, which would be absolutely electric to see a wide receiver go number 1 overall.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to monitor that. But we'll get on to the third pick. I'll pick for the Patriots, and this one has to be the most obvious thing. If you would have told me a year ago that the Patriots would be in this position at 3 to pick Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina, that is just absurd. It looks like there's a lot of shouts going out right now that Drake May could be the first quarterback in the draft and the best quarterback prospect, and he's not far off. He's an absolute stud. He literally just reminds me of Herbert. He seems like a Herbert clone to me, and not just because he wears number 10, but just the way he plays. They have like the same throwing motion and mechanics, and I really see him kind of ending up like Herbert. And if he goes to the Patriots, then maybe your conspiracy theory was right, that they were just tanking for this, because this is absurd. It feels surreal to see.
Yeah, I mean, as if the Patriots haven't had a dynasty for the last, 17 years. And for them just to have one bad season and land, one of the better prospects we've seen in the last couple of years, Drake May, who was just a prototypical just quarterback. I mean, he looks like a quarterback. I mean, he's 6'4", 230 pounds, back-to-back seasons of 3,500 plus yards. I mean, 2023, 24 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, gets better in 2022, 37 to 7 interceptions. I mean, with a very good pass rating of over 100 in every single season. And Drake May is just electric, and he could come draft season push for the number 1 overall spot. We don't know. He is that good of a prospect too. I mean, obviously Caleb Williams is a little bit more electric, and he's been more electric, but yeah, Drake May, it seems like he could end up almost in a weird way being the best, quarterback prospect in this class. And it just seems so awful to think that the Patriots could land him just one bad year and they get him. But I mean, and that's what's going to happen. It's crazy. They're going to get one of the best quarterback prospects, and they'll probably turn it around next year. I mean, because they're the Patriots. So of course, why not?
It's surreal, and that really is so fun. Like, just seeing that is honestly crazy to me. But who are you going to pair up with Caleb Williams for the Bears at 4?
See, now this one I kind of go back and forth on, because it's like, obviously PFF has their positions of need: wide receiver, center, D-line, cornerback. They did just acquire Montez Sweat from the Commanders, which is an absolutely huge, I mean, big signing, and a great trade for the Bears. I mean, that's a true franchise defensive end on your line. But I scratched my head on this one, man. I'm going back and forth. I'm like, do I really want to give them a weapon when, I don't know if that's their biggest need, when they have DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. But I mean, in the NFL where, you need 2 wide receiver ones, and I don't think Darnell Mooney, I don't think they're wide receivers. They have a true alpha wide receiver too. And so I look at Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors. I look at those guys and I'm like, ooh, that is really tempting, because that could make that, offense electric. But then it's like, Well, a premium position here would be an offensive lineman. And we got some really good offensive linemen, So I've been scratching my head, and even to pair Montez Sweat up and have two electric defensive ends would be huge. But I,
Even Brock Bowers would be nasty.
Brock Bowers is another generation. Like we said, there's a lot of generational type prospects at the top of this board. Brock Bowers would be very tempting. However, I do feel comfortable with Cole Kmet. I think he is an above average tight end, and he should stay their tight end one. When I think I would probably, gosh, I really want to go receiver here, Dan. Talk me out of it. Talk me out of it.
I mean, it seems like the Bears like their tackles, so Olu Fashanu seems like the best like value here. But I kind of agree. I think just pairing up Caleb with a receiver is it's definitely the most tempting move. Obviously, Latu wouldn't be a bad pick. Pairing him up with Montez Sweat, that might be the smart pick, but it's so tempting taking a receiver. I can't fault you for either way. Malik Neighbors is so NFL ready. I think he would complement Caleb Williams well. And then yeah, you got Odunze that is kind of like the next CD Lamb, and imagine that with Caleb Williams, and then obviously Keon Coleman. So there's some freaky options. It's early, but it would be fun.
Yeah, it would be. It would be fun. But then again, you just drafted. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do the safe pick. This is our first mock. I'm gonna be excited to look back at this, and I'm not gonna go super bold yet. So I'm gonna go Fashanu from Penn State. You draft your franchise quarterback. You got to get some. You got to get some protection for him. That's your Ferrari investment, and you got to keep him upright. So that's the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I definitely can't really argue with that pick. And I'll move on to pick 5 for the Washington Commanders. And this one, I really don't even have to really go through my process. I think Brock Bowers would be awesome. Get Bieniemy kind of a Travis Kelsey type option. I do really love that. But I am just going to take my number 1 edge rusher in this class, Laiatu Latu. They like you said, they got rid of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. That's just crazy. That's suspicious at that point. That's just ridiculous. So I hope that was
It's reckless. It doesn't
yeah.
make any sense. I mean, you got the Bama boys up front with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, so I get that, but at the same time, you get rid of both of your edge prospects that are younger. It's reckless. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. So I absolutely love Latu coming over and kind of being their new number 1 edge rusher. And I think that's their biggest need for sure after that move. And yeah, Latu, just an absolute beast of a prospect, an absolute monster out of UCLA. He's been dominant. Think of like a Jalen Phillips, also out of UCLA, so like suit up. He's just an absolute beast. And I actually went to a Utah UCLA game just so I could stare at number 15 for UCLA every single play. I solely went to the game just to watch Latu because he's a special talent and he is just a game wrecker. And I think he deserves to be at the spot.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love that pick. And obviously, when you get rid of your 2 edge rushers, you have to replace one, and that is a premium position. When you're picking top 5, then you go get the best. You go get the best edge rusher in this draft class. So yeah, it makes all the sense. I still scratch my head why they did that. When I mean, I really would have liked them to keep at least Montez Sweat or Chase Young, and then maybe invest in an offensive tackle or something. But at this point, you're almost forced to. You got to go get a true number 1 edge guy. You got to get after the quarterback, especially when you're in the division with Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. So yeah, you got to get after the passer, and so that makes the most sense.
All right, and let's hear what you're going to do at number 6 for the Giants. You're going to get them any weapons finally?
What's funny is PFF has their biggest need as quarterback, so they're almost giving up on Danny Dimes, which I honestly could understand. It's just fun. It's fun to be hopeful. It's fun to think of the different outcomes in this. I get so giddy when we start talking about the draft, and it would be fun because I really don't know if the Giants, if Daniel Dimes really is the answer for them long term, but again, the top 2 quarterbacks are gone. There is some really good other prospects, as in Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, which I would love to see. But I think the most reasonable thing is, what do the Giants not have? They don't have any electric receivers. They don't have anyone that can really push the field, get downfield. They have, they have okay receivers. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson's okay. Darius Slayton's fine. Isaiah Hodgins is fine, but no one's really elite. No one's that alpha wide receiver 1. And they just got I would like to give them Brock Bowers, but I can't because they have Darren Waller there. But I'm gonna go Rome Odunze.
I love
I
it.
I think that's going to be the most. And excuse me if I pronounce some of these names wrong. I oh okay,
You're
yeah.
right.
I think you watched what he did at Washington with Michael Penix. He was just electric, like you said, kind of like a CeeDee Lamb type of guy. That just makes me excited, and that's what the Giants need. Saquon Barkley can't be the only one in this offense, so let's go get an alpha wide receiver one.
Absolutely love that. And yeah, it's Odunze or Odunze. Either way, I say Odunze. But yeah, he's just an absolute stud. And I love the CeeDee Lamb comp. I think he's going to be that same player. And that's exactly what the Giants need. They do not have that alpha number one receiver at all. And that's the mold that they need. So that's a beautiful pick. I love that. He's going to be awesome.
Yeah. That's exactly what they need in that offense. They need a little bit of electricity, and I guess you give Daniel Jones a year or two more. I mean, obviously, you just gave him the bag, so you got to see it through. And you first things first, you got to give him some weapons.
Definitely. And I'll move on to pick number 7 for the Buccaneers. And I am pretty torn on this one between like a tight end or a secondary position because Brock Bowers would be awesome here. I do like Kate Otten, but getting a guy like Brock Bowers in here is really, really hard to say no to. I am tempted to give them a corner. Let's see who the best corners available are. Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry would be a fun fit here. I really am deciding between McKinstry and Bowers, and
Well, I mean, would you even consider a quarterback here? Do you think Baker's the long-term solution?
I was thinking about quarterback too, but the Buccaneers just seem like a team where if they can't get these top two quarterbacks, it seems like they would kind of just want like a Baker Mayfield option until they can get a top quarterback. I mean, I don't know, but like Jaden Daniels will probably be the guy that goes right here, and I don't know. I don't know if that is really like a good fit in Tampa. And Michael Penix isn't really. I just don't really see Michael Penix as a fit in Tampa too, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. I feel like they are. I feel like they go get. I feel like they're in a win now situation. So I almost feel like if a Kirk Cousins was to, be available, or somebody older, that's kind of a win now. That's kind of who I see the Buccaneers going after. It's kind of like a seasoned veteran quarterback instead of drafting one right now.
All right, yeah, let's go with that. We'll say that they signed like a good win now quarterback, and we're gonna give him Brock Bowers. And this tight end class, it has Brock Bowers, and there's kind of like a few round drop off for the next tight end. So that's a good pick, getting that tight end taken care of, and you have a future generational tight end prospect in there. I love that for the Bucks.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is truly, in my draft grades, I just have a feeling he's gonna probably be at least top five, if not top three for me. You just see what he's done at Georgia over the last couple of years, and it's just quite unfair. I mean, tight end is not a premium position, but when there's a guy like Bowers available, it is. He is a mismatch on all levels for the defense, and his route running is just phenomenal. And so, yeah, I mean, Brock Bowers, any team would love to have a guy like this because he's probably I think he's a better tight end prospect. Obviously, Kyle Pitts didn't work out in the NFL, but I would say Brock Bowers is a better tight end prospect than Kyle Pitts was.
Yeah, 100%. I actually am starting to feel like that as well, and I think he's going to prove that here probably by winning the national championship and putting on a show. But let's see what you do with the New York Jets here at 8.
To me, it's a pretty easy pick. You got an old quarterback that's in a win now situation. And I really do think the Jets actually have a lot of really good talent on their offensive line with Joe Tippmann, Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker. But what you need to do is protect Rodgers, and Joe Alt is sitting there on the board. A big mean tackle from Notre Dame, and this one just feels like a lock. You got to keep Aaron upright, and so that seems like the smartest pick to me.
Yeah, and Alt feels so athletic that he could even move into guard. Because, like you said, the Jets fans make it seem like they have the worst offensive line in NFL history, but on paper, it's a pretty solid offensive line. It's a good offensive line. Once you get AVT back healthy, it's going to be pretty fun. And same with Becton. So I do think Alt's the perfect pick, kind of like a Skoronski of last year. You can move him anywhere, and that's a perfect pick for Aaron
Oh yeah,
Rodgers.
yeah, kind of a no-brainer pick right there. And yeah, the Jets fans overreact about their line. They got a lot of really good young talent on that offensive line, so I really don't understand that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, why not? This is a premium position. I have all, one of my top few players on the board right here, and that seems to be the biggest position of need in my opinion for the Jets. So yeah, lock Alt in there. I love it.
I love that, and we'll get on to number 9. I'm going to pick for your Chargers here, and I I I
I'm
think
sad Bowers is gone. I'm
yeah.
sad. I'm sad. That's gonna be my hope. It's crossing fingers, but honestly, I do think I feel I don't think the Chargers come draft season they'll probably be more like 12, 13. I just don't know if Bowers could even get there, to be honest.
Yeah, pairing Herbert with Bowers or any top receiver is definitely the dream. I do see the Chargers maybe falling a few picks after that, but if they are here, I guess one more shout that I will say is you said that the Chargers have been really going to Penn State games this year. They have a lot of scouts out there, so I do think Chop Robinson would be the pick if this man Jerzon Newton wasn't on the board. I gotta take Jerzon Newton. He feels like the perfect missing piece for the Chargers. He's that Quinnen Williams type interior rusher for the Chargers who can also clog the run defense too, and that's just a perfect fit for that Chargers defense. I really love that.
Yeah, if this happened on draft day, I'd be doing laps around Buffalo Wild Wings, a tradition that we all go to with our buddies. I'd be hugging strangers. I would be taking my victory lap. This would be just an absolutely awesome pick for the defense. You got Sebastian Joseph Day, who's probably going to be a cap casualty. And yeah, you really need to. The Chargers have been missing a guy like Jerzon Newton for a while. We just haven't had that consistent good presence in the middle. It's just kind of been kind of like a makeshift. Really defensive interior since I can remember, honestly. I can't really remember the last solid defensive tackle present we had. And yeah, Jerzon Newton is the best player on the board for me at this point, and that would be an absolute steal. I would be taking my victory lap. That makes me happy.
Yeah, you'd be running around, be Buffalo Wild Wings like you did with the Derwin James pick, and I think he would have the same impact as Derwin James. I think he's going to be a real star in the NFL. So I do think if the Chargers do end up with the top 10 pick, he would be a great one.
Yeah, no, that just put a smile on my face. The Chargers having a horrible season, but right now we're at a top 10 pick, man, and doing this just puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, that's why draft season hills all fills. But let's hear what you're going to do with number 10 for the Titans.
This is another hard one for me because the Titans are just in such a. It seems like, they're just in. I almost just want to say they're just in like almost like they need like a full reset, rebuild, and seems like the good players they have are old, minus Jeffrey Simmons. They get rid of Kevin Byard, which I absolutely hate. They give him to the Eagles for nothing when he was a consistent veteran presence. You missed. I'm probably gonna say it right now. As looking right now, Treylon Burks was a bust. You gave up AJ Brown, which is just horrible to think of. When you essentially swap AJ Brown for Treylon Burks, makes you sick to your stomach. You do have a really fun electric running back in Tajay Spears, who I think could be good. Obviously, Derrick Henry is probably hitting those twilight, years of his career. You do need offensive line help. Obviously, PFF has their biggest needs as wide receiver, O-line, and DB. And this is hard, man. This is a hard pick because it seems like there's so many different positions I could go to. Oh, gosh.
It's hard with no Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu. I feel like that makes it really easy because their offensive line has been the worst like ever. So I feel like that makes it harder that those two are gone.
And I feel like you are going to be rolling with Will Levis, for at least the foreseeable future. And so we need wide receiver help, I think that Mike Vrabel's always going to be able to make that defense competitive. I think they are really good building in through the free agency period. And you got to go get a premium position when you're picking in the top 10. A wide receiver definitely is with how much they're getting paid. So I'm kind of bouncing between Malik Neighbors and Keon Coleman here.
Take Coleman because he's like the AJ Brown player. He's like AJ Brown exactly.
And that's exactly my thought right there. So let's go Keon Coleman, man. Let's go Keon Coleman here. Dude's electric. They need help for Will Levis. I'm sorry, but your receivers aren't good enough. D-Hop is old. We need a young electric receiver for Will Levis, and I believe Vrabel can keep that defense relevant. So I really want to build the offense through this draft.
I absolutely love that. I think that is making up for that AJ Brown trade. I don't know if you can ever really make up for it, but I think Keon Coleman will be him in the NFL. He seems like he's going to translate into an absolute Megatron type player, and I'm so excited for him. And Will Levis can air it out, so that'll be an awesome duo. That'd be really fun to watch. And at 11 for the Vegas Raiders, I'm really deciding between Kool-Aid McKinstry, who would be really solid for that defense. I might just lock that in right now, but I might give them the Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels. I might do it. They had the billboard up yesterday, the Heisman Jaden Daniels billboard in Vegas up yesterday, and I'm feeling the vibes that the Raiders are going to want to go for the Heisman. They're going to want to go for the clout, and I think they're going to take Jaden Daniels here and get their future quarterback, and they're going to insert him right there. And I think they're going to get a new coach in there next year to complement that quarterback. So I think that they're going to do something splashy like this.
I love that, honestly. You're in a division with Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes, and you got Aiden O'Connell at quarterback right now, and you just gave Jimmy Garoppolo way too much money. You really missed on that. They're looking like a disaster, and the best thing you can do is try and hit on a quarterback. And Jaden Daniels is looking like he's going to be the Heisman winner. He had an absolute resurgence at LSU. One of the best players in the country right now, getting it done on the ground and through the air. And this feels like it could be a good fit. And it feels like this is like, just basing players off Raiders culture. I feel like you can do it pretty easy. You kind of know who they like to draft. And, Arizona's pretty close to Vegas. I'm sure, their scouts would have been local there, have gotten a lot of information on Jaden Daniels. So I really like it. I'm not going to complain about that pick. And you got to go upside in the division, when you're playing three, elite quarterbacks.
I just thought of something. Antonio Pierce was Arizona State's coach when Jaden Daniels was there. That's crazy. So if Antonio Pierce does stay for the Raiders, there's that connection. Also funny that Jaden Daniels transferred from Arizona State. All of his teammates were laughing at him, filming him, calling him trash, and he goes and does this. So inspirational from Jaden Daniels. Really fun pick. And what are you going to do at 12 for the Saints?
Ooh, this couple different ways. Obviously, PFF has their position of needs as tackle and defensive line. And just the value here of Chop Robinson is just too tempting for me. He's my highest rated player on the board as of right now. Obviously, I have not watched every single prospect. I'm not going to act like I am a guru in this draft. There's still a long way to go. But right now, Chop Robinson is just looking like too easy of a pick for me. So lock in Chop Robinson. I think he could have gone earlier. He's probably the second best edge rusher in this class. And I love that fit for a Dennis Allen defense, and they need a little help with getting after the quarterback.
I really love that. It seems like the Saints always love edge rushers, and getting another really, really good star in there that you can insert as the starter on one side. I love that. And I'll go on to 13 for the Packers. I kind of decided between like a receiver or a corner here, and with no Keon Coleman, who seems like a Packer, I am going to take Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that he would be a really good shutdown corner opposite of Jair Alexander. Eric Stokes in the slot. That seems like a pretty beautiful corner trio that you can't really pass up here. I think Kool-Aid could go higher than this.
Yeah, no, this is the first defensive back off the board at 15. You're getting a guy from Alabama, which obviously they just produce NFL players like it's going out of style. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, a really electric DB, and a really electric name. You gotta take this into consideration. When you see Kool-Aid McKinstry out there, you're gonna be scared of that name. And
he has that sauce factor.
Yeah, exactly. Sauce and Kool-Aid, man. And he's got decent measurables for a corner. He's 6'1", 195. And yeah, I love that. That's tremendous value getting the first corner off the board, and to pair him with Jair Alexander would be a very lethal duo.
All right, let's see what you're doing for LA Rams at 14.
Oh, this is hard, man, because they almost need everything. The Rams have been really good at just piecing together, I think last year they had like 13 draft picks, but it was like from round 3 and on. And they actually did a good job with picking a lot of no-name guys up. But gosh, this is hard. We could go in I feel like they're okay on receiver. We hit on Puka Nacua. You still got Cooper Kupp. There's no really tight ends. Could definitely improve that offensive line. How long do we think Matthew Stafford's going to be there? Do we think this is the year? Michael Penix is on the board. Corner, Cooper DeJean. Oh, that's tempting. We got rid of Jalen Ramsey last year. You know what? Screw it. Let's go Cooper DeJean. This guy is electric. He can do it on special teams. He's one of the few white corners you're ever going to see. And why not? Let's go back to back corners off the board. This is where they probably should go. This feels like the corner hotspot. And the Rams need help everywhere, but let's get a premium position. Let's get a cornerback that they can build around. Jalen Ramsey's gone, so let's get that alpha CB1.
Yeah, get that super fun athlete in there. He's gonna make some special plays in there. I love that. Getting that number one corner. I think they really need that. I would have took a corner from them as well. And we'll get on to number 15 for the Bengals. There's a few options here. There's one really fun option at the top here that stands out, and that's pairing up the LSU boys, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase with another freak, Malik Neighbors. And I think I'm gonna do it with
They can't afford T. Higgins next year. He's going to be gone. He is going to be gone.
that's the thing is T. Higgins, and not only that, they could be without Tyler Boyd next year as well. So instead of getting your boy Andre Yosevus, or however you say it, instead of getting him in that starting lineup, I'm gonna insert Malik Neighbors, the NFL ready guy with a Joe Burrow. That chemistry is gonna be just sick. I love that, him replacing Boyd and Higgins kind of, and just getting all of those LSU track team. I love that so much.
Yeah, that's electric. And if you look at the Bengals' recent draft history, they're always looking at kind of like the Eagles. They're very good at picking premium positions. And wide receiver is a premium position. And T. Higgins will be gone next year. There's no way they're going to be able to afford his contract. Somebody's going to throw the bag at him in free agency. Of course, one of these Bears or one of these teams at the top of the draft that has a lot of money. And they just obviously paid Joe Burrow a ton of money. So yeah, now's the time to get another young receiver in there. And I absolutely love that. Why not just make that LSU track team again? That's awesome. Love that pick.
It's so fun, and I think you have a lot harder picks than me. Let's hear your Bills pick. I think this one's also kind of a hard one.
It's going to be interesting. Kind of crazy to think that they're right now the 16th pick. It just seems ridiculous with the expectations we've had. Obviously, they played in a lot of competitive games. They've dropped a lot of competitive games. Josh Allen is kind of just been back and forth on playing reckless and then really amazing. It's reckless Superman football. And he's been on that all season long. But like I've been screaming, from the rooftops, I don't know if Stephon Diggs is going to be here next year. Seems kind of like a toxic culture between them, between him and the Bills. And so, gosh, and they just really need a better wide receiver too, other than Gabe Davis. They need something more consistent. And then obviously, I mean, they have a lot of positions of need in this, but kind of an underrated guy for me, and maybe a lot of people won't agree with this, but Mike Ibuka, that's going to be my pick. This guy is just awfully, I mean, obviously he's going to have a little bit of comps compared to other Ohio State guys, but just kind of reminds me of that Chris Olave type player. Has a knack for getting open, finding the soft spot of the zone. And he's just a really good receiver. And I feel like, in other years, he could probably be, pushed for like wide receiver, 2 or 3 in other draft classes. But wide receiver is a premium position. The future Stephon Diggs is uncertain. And I just think they need a better weapon than Gabe Davis as a wide receiver too. I love how they added Dalton Kincaid last year, one of the better picks of the draft in my opinion. But we need another receiver. Josh Allen does need more consistency at wide receiver too than Gabriel Davis in my opinion.
That is the perfect pick. Like last year, Josh Allen loved throwing to Isaiah McKenzie, who found those soft spots. And this year, it's kind of Khalil Shakur. And I think Emeka Ibuka is just a souped up version of both of those. And he's going to be a beautiful, like one of the best slot receivers in the NFL for a long time. So going to the Bills, I feel like that fit couldn't really be any better. And that'll be really fun.
Yeah. I'm just gonna preach Josh Allen. If the Bills are really gonna be elite contenders, it kind of feels like the Chargers, how they just this season with an injury to Mike Williams. It's just you have to force feed your number one receiver, and you just need another guy that can take over a game. You see the Eagles. AJ Brown is down one game. You got Devontae Smith. You have 2 elite wide receiver ones. And that's one of the most overpowering things in the NFL right now, because we are in an Air Coryell souped up, NFL right now. We're passing is how you win in the NFL. So let's get Josh Allen some more help. And yeah, uncertainty of Diggs this year. So we'll see on that side too.
Insanely electric pick. And I'll go on to 17 for the Cardinals. It's going to be their second pick. I'm going to pair someone up with Marvin Harrison Jr. here. And I think this one's a pretty easy pick as well. I'm going to take the highest edge on my board, and that's Jared Verse. I think he could even go earlier than this. He was supposed to be like a top 15 pick in the last year's draft before he re-entered college. And I do love that, kind of getting a offensive cornerstone in Marvin Harrison and then getting a defensive cornerstone in Jared Verse. But they really need edge rush help. So I think that is a must pick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've had some good edge rushers come through there. JJ Watt finished his career with the Cardinals. And then you gave up Hassan Reddick, which that would have been a huge piece if he would have stayed with Arizona. But yeah, now you get two cornerstones, one on each side. I absolutely love that. You know, in my opinion, Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback. I'm one of the firm believers in him. I think he gets too much hate, and I think he is a quarterback worth building around. So yeah, let's get him some help on the defensive side of the ball. You got him a generational wide receiver, and you know, who knows? This Arizona team could really maybe flip around their season if they hit on some of these picks this year.
Definitely. Let's hear your pick for my Broncos. I'm scared.
Oh man, this one I've been thinking of for a minute, but we could go in a number of different ways. It's funny because Russell Wilson will be there, you know, if depending on how the season went, but the Broncos have now just had a resurgence. They're on the longest winning streak in the NFL right now, a 5-game winning streak. So it looks like Russell should be safe. Obviously, if he wasn't, Michael Penix Jr. would be a really, really tempting pick. Even with Russell Wilson being good, just a guy that can sit behind Russell Wilson for a couple of years as he enters the twilight of his career. But I think the Broncos are in a win now situation. You have Russell Wilson. He's playing good football. You went out, you spent big on Sean Payton, who it seems to be paying off. Your defense is finally coming together. I mean, the offensive line is coming together, but you know, and I don't really know if I merit any wide receivers going right here. I feel like the top ones are off the board, even though I'd like to look that way for the Broncos.
I need Neighbors to be here. I want Neighbors so bad.
Neighbors was there, that'd be huge. The interior offensive line class this year is a lot weaker, in my opinion, than other years. I mean, Talisi Fuga, tackle from Oregon State, is very tempting. That's a premium position. You do have Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles, though, so I just don't know if I can justify that. Gosh, this is hard. Obviously, you know, you could always stack your defense. And honestly, Dallas Turner here to pair, you know, honestly, Dallas, I think position and premium position, I think Dallas Turner is gonna be the number one person on my board right here. And the Broncos could use some help getting after the quarterback. I mean, when you're in the league, you can never have enough edge rushers when you're in a division with Mahomes and Herbert. And in this mock draft now, Jaden Daniels who runs. So let's give the Broncos Dallas Turner. I think that's, you know, a premium position. It's probably right where he should be drafted. And yeah, the Broncos are going to win now. If it was different case scenario, I would give them Michael Penix, but yeah, I think they're going to win now. So let's get them some edge help.
Yeah, I agree with the Penix situation. Before Russ's kind of resurgence, I would have given the Broncos Penix, but I do think Dallas Turner is a great pick. This is the perfect range for him. And I will say the Broncos edge rushers have really stepped up, like Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper and Baron Browning have all been really good, but adding a Dallas Turner in there to kind of solidify one of those starting spots and then rotating the rest of them around, that's going to be a really dominant defense. And the defense has already been awesome. And that's just going to create more havoc and turnovers. So I love that.
Yeah. You know, you have good edge rushers, but you can never have enough. That's kind of my motto. You have a premium position. You can get them cheap on their rookie deals. You need to get after the passers in the AFC West. So Dallas Turner, you know, a true, you know, high star recruit going to Alabama. Just a guy that can get sacks and, you know, rack them up for the Broncos. So yeah, I'm feeling confident with that pick.
I love that, stacking up that Broncos defense. And we'll get into number 19 for the Atlanta Falcons. And I want to stack up that defense for the Falcons as well, because their defense has been a really changed unit this year. They've been a really good, dominant unit almost. Like they've been really rejuvenated and playing really good. And I'm going to pair up AJ Terrell out of Clemson with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. We'll get another Clemson corner in there. I really like Nate Wiggins. I think this is a good spot for him. So I really do like that fit, pairing him up opposite of AJ Terrell. Maybe Clark Phillips, their second round pick last year, develops into that slot starter. So I like that corner trio a lot.
Yeah, the Clemson boys. I also would have considered giving them a quarterback just because I am a firm believer that Ritter is a bust. I would like to see the Falcons maybe, and I don't know, the only person that's coming to my mind right now is like a Kirk Cousins. For whatever reason. I mean, I'm sure he'll be on the Vikings next year, but like if he's somehow, not on the Vikings, I would love to see like a team like Atlanta or, gosh, I don't even know. Atlanta makes a lot of sense to me for like a Kirk Cousins with a solid defense, a guy where they can be competitive and compete for the playoffs in a weaker division. I'd like that fit. But yeah, let's do the Clemson boys. Pair up Nate Wiggins with AJ Terrell, and you got a solid. You're locked down out there.
Yeah, I love that a lot. And let's hear your pick for the Indianapolis Colts at 20. There's a lot of ways you can go here.
There's a lot of different things I could do. I think it says the Colts' biggest need is wide receiver. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. They hit on Josh Downs this offseason. They have Michael Pittman Jr. And so you got two really good ones there. And I feel like you can get I feel like you can get good wide receivers in the second, third, fourth round. And the Colts have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. But how do you continue to have one of the best offensive lines? You continue to add to that. Anthony Richardson got banged up. He likes to run a lot. So let's give him, and one of our buddies, as we were doing this, sent us a mock. And he's a big Colts fan with Talisi Fuga. And I love that pick. I think that feels like a Chris Ballard pick, picking a guy from Oregon State with that name. It seems like a Colts player. And so why not? Let's continue, a big 6'6", 340-pound tackle. Let's protect Anthony Richardson. Let's keep him healthy.
Why does he feel like such a Colt player? That is weird. He really, even before you said that, he did feel like the pick right there. So I do like that a lot. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we can lock that one in. I don't even think we really need a mock again for the Colts. So that will probably be their pick.
Yeah, we'll lock this one in for the rest of the year until April, and we'll get on to pick number 21, the Minnesota Vikings. You just mentioned you think that Kirk Cousins is probably done, and I agree. And look at pick number 22. It's the Seattle Seahawks, who I think would love to bring in Michael Penix, keep him in the same state. And I think the Vikings know that, and they're going to want to finesse him a pick before, and they're going to take Michael Penix here, and they're going to get that future quarterback. He's such a safe option and a NFL ready option that you can play him right now. He can easily start right now and just, oh my gosh, his deep balls to Justin Jefferson and Addison. Wow, just thinking about that's just crazy. I'm so excited thinking about that. I really want this to happen. If he can't be a Bronco to be the predecessor to Russell Wilson, this is what I want to happen because it'll be fun. Or the Seahawks.
That is absolutely beautiful. You get Kirk Cousins' big salary off the books. And you've kind of seen what Kirk Cousins can do for the Vikings. And I think he can make you competitive every single year and put you in the playoff race. But, we need younger talent. And, obviously Penix is a little older going in this draft class, which I think is a good thing for the Vikings because I think he's a start now. And obviously being a lefty, we kind of compare him to Tua, but we feel like almost like he has a little bit more upside than Tua. We feel like he has a better arm than Tua. He's a little bit bigger than Tua. And, he's just really played lights out this season. And getting a Michael Penix right here at 21 just feels it to me. I know some people think he could slip to the second round, but it just feels like a steal. And I think Michael Penix come March, come April will be a first round lock, if not top end of the first round. Maybe some teams might want to trade up for his upside. But I mean, this dude it makes some pretty amazing passes, and yeah, this makes me excited, and it gives. If I was a Vikings fan and I saw this mock, I'd be excited. That has a lot of hope in it. This pick.
Yeah, and like you said, you do see some mock drafts with Penix kind of in late first or second round, and that really doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't see much differences of 2023 Washington Michael Penix to a Tagovailoa. Like, I really don't. Like, he has much stronger of an arm. He zips the football. His deep ball is a absolute beauty, and he can actually get it anywhere. Like, he is a crazy arm, and he's just as smart. Like, Tua is such a good point guard. He's so smart, and I think Michael Penix is just as smart, and I think he's just like being way too slept on. I might be crazy. I might take the L for that, but he's my quarterback 3, and I think he's just being slept on.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that pick. It gets me giddy thinking about it.
And let's hear what you're going to do for the Seahawks after getting finessed of Penix.
This is just kind of this is an interesting pick. This one because I'm going over the Seahawks roster in my mind right here, and we got three really good receivers. Whether Tyler Lockett is there next year or not, we still got two receivers. So I don't feel like I want to justify getting a receiver here. We got two good running backs. They've really invested in their offensive line these past couple of years. Obviously, they could use some help on the interior of their offensive line. I mean, they've gotten some really good tackles these past couple of draft classes. They've signed a Uchenna Nwosu, who did go down with an injury this year. So, I mean, we could look at the edge. Braylon Trice is sitting there, a Washington guy that could bring that guy home. At the same time, Bo Nix, Bo Nix could be a very tempting pick here. If he could sit a year behind Geno and then take over that. I mean, he's a Northwestern guy over there in Oregon, so it's close to Washington. So I don't know. There's just a handful. I mean, even going to the interior and getting the number one prospect from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson, who is a Dan guy who Dan knows and is buddies with. I don't know. This is a tempting pick too. I mean, this
Keep him in that Northwest. It would be
he
fun.
kind of feels like a Seahawks pick. He does. And he's got, center guard flexibility. That seems to be their biggest need. Ooh. I mean, screw it. Let's do it. Let's go Jackson Powers Johnson right here. Why not? Why not?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Jackson Powers Johnson, like you said, played on my high school team. So yeah, just really a freak of an athlete. He was our best defensive tackle, our best center. He was just an absolute beast, and he's balling out for Oregon, the number one interior offensive lineman. So it's pretty crazy keeping him in that Northwest. I think that is like the biggest need for the Seahawks too. So I like that.
Yeah, I just feels, you're getting the number one per PFF right now. I don't know whether this will change or not, but yeah, Northwestern, that area, Oregon, I'm sure they have scouts going to almost every single Oregon game. I'm sure they've done their homework. They need guard center. I feel like he has the flexibility to do both. And so, yeah, why not? Why not take the upside of him?
And we'll get on to number 23 for the Steelers. And I really do want to give them another offensive lineman, even after getting Broderick Jones, who I love. I want to get him another tackle opposite of him. I think any of these options would be awesome. But I'm liking these creative, fun picks. And I want to pair up Joey Porter Jr. with his teammate from Penn State, Kalen King. You could argue Kalen King is a better prospect than Joey Porter Jr. So that is just sickening. I hope that excites Steelers fans because I think that duo would be legendary in Pittsburgh.
That is absolutely electric. I love that pick. That is just awesome. Let's make this Steelers defense just lethal again. This is their culture. When you think of the Steelers, you think of defensive football, and going and getting Kalen King with his familiarity with Joey Porter Jr. That's awesome. And he is an electric corner. Yeah, I mean that pick is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love mock drafts, man. It's just so fun making the connections and stuff. But who are you gonna give to CJ Stroud's Texans at 24?
This is kind of crazy. They have the Texans' biggest need as wide receiver. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. When you got Nico Collins, you got Noah Brown, you absolutely hit a home run pick in Tank Dell. I mean, Robert Woods. Who knows if he'll be there next year? I feel like
Imagine Ibuka was here. You could just get CJ Stroud as perfect slot.
That would be, and he has chemistry with Ibuka. That would be actually a very lethal pick. I really like that. Oof, gosh. But the number one player on my board right now, they drafted to this position. They somehow got two, cornerstone franchise guys. Texans last year, they with picks 2 and 3. But let's add to that edge room. Let's get after the passer. Let's get Braylon Trice. He's my number one player left on the board right here. I think this would be an awesome fitting for their defense. You already got a really good edge rusher. You got a defensive minded head coach. Let's stack up that defense because I feel like this offense. Obviously, I wouldn't have minded adding some offensive line help there for CJ Stroud to keep him upright. But let's get after the passer. And you got a defensive head coach, and let's make this Texans defense lethal.
I love that pairing Will Anderson with the behemoth that's Braylon Trice. That would be incredibly fun. And we'll get on to the pick number 25 for the Miami Dolphins. I feel like there's a decent amount of ways that you could go here, but there's just been one position that's kind of been falling, and that's the depth of the tackle class here. And I got to take one of these tackles, and we'll take JC Latham. I think that feels like a Dolphins pick, Alabama tackle. I think that's needed. He can move inside if he needs. So I love that.
Yeah, I actually really like that pick too. I know why Graham Barton feels like a feels like a Dolphin too. For some reason, a Duke tackle just really feels like he'd fit the Dolphins. But no, yeah, JC Latham right there, an Alabama tackle with position flexibility is awesome. So really, really like that. Uh,
Also, Cameron Kitchens, keeping him in Miami, pairing him with Javon Holland, that's pretty tempting too.
oh yeah, but Cameron Kitchens right here,
Oof.
adding to my Dallas Cowboys defense
Oof.
just feels unfair. And so give me Cameron. I know it's not their biggest position of need, but the Cowboys, they'll pick, to benefit their team. And this guy, I feel like would be top of Jerry Jones' list, just an absolute freaking unit on the field. So I love Cameron Kitchens. Let's continue to make this Dallas defense lethal. That's funny. Running backs are big. I mean, they have position flexibility. They got one of the best rosters in the NFL. They can really go BPA. And let's add to that secondary. They've been hitting on players there. So that I love that pick.
That's so beautiful. You've got Malik Hooker, and then you can move Marquise Bell up to linebacker, literally because he's a star
He's a
linebacker.
perfect linebacker. Marquise Bell is one of the he's that dude is incredible. Deron Bland, rightfully so, has been, has been the name of the town. But Marquise Bell, that guy is unreal. One of the more underrated defensive players in the NFL, in my opinion. I really got put on the board by him when he played the Chargers. Like, this guy is the best player I've ever seen. He is all over the field. He looked like a better Derwin James. He was just making every tackle. He's in the backfield. He's breaking up passes. I mean, and just sitting him at linebacker feels like his natural position. And he's just a fast sideline to sideline linebacker, who can drop back in coverage. And so, yeah, move him to linebacker and bring in Cameron Kitchens. And, I don't want to throw against this Dallas team
That's
with a
so
healthy
so.
Trayvon Diggs next year too. It's just, it's horrible thinking of.
That is so absurd. You could put Kitchens in the slot. It's just that is absurd. That is so fun. Dan Quinn would do a lot of fun things with that. And yeah, Marquise Bell is probably going to finish the season as their starting linebacker because of all their injuries. So that's perfect. That really is perfect. I love that. And we'll get on to the Lions at 27. The Lions are always kind of a hard team to pick for, but I feel like last year I did want them to kind of get another big receiver to complement Amon-Ra. I don't know if Jameson Williams is a alpha, like even number two receiver. I don't really think he's like a reliable starter. I think he's just kind of a deep threat, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. I am going to give the Lions Adonai Mitchell because I just think that is the type of receivers that would be beautiful for the Lions, kind of a bigger receiver that can just come down with about anything, especially in the red zone. He comes down with some beautiful touchdown catches. So I do love this fit, pairing him with Amon-Ra and some of those weapons with Jared Goff. I love that.
I mean, and with this Lions team, you're probably going to lose Ben Johnson to a head coaching job, which, is going to be a substantial loss for them. I mean, having Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator has just been a blessing for the Lions. I mean, he's probably the best offensive coordinator in football. And they're going to lose him this year. There's no way he doesn't take a head coaching job. And so, yeah, let's give whoever the next offensive coordinator is, a little help at wide receiver. You already got Amon-Ra. Jameson Wilson can be that deep threat guy. He doesn't need to be their wide receiver 1, 2. He doesn't need to be that alpha guy because it just doesn't seem like he ever will be. So, yeah, get him a big 6'4" receiver, that can complement Amon-Ra perfectly. That's an awesome pick.
All right, and who are you going to give to Trevor's Jaguars at 28?
We go in a number of different directions here. I don't really think I want to go interior, even though that's their biggest need at this point.
You can't.
This is hard. This is a hard pick. I feel like their defense has been really electric. They've been making turnovers. I feel like right here, I think I want to go Josh Newton. I think I want to go TCU Josh Newton here. Just a really dynamic corner. Let's add to that defense. I mean, their defense has just been making turnovers. So let's add another guy to that defensive back room. Um, you got to catch all those DBs. They're so valuable, and I feel like that's probably the best player available for me on my board right now, and at a premium position, which I keep saying. I think premium positions in the first round are so important.
I was actually feeling that exact same pick too. I think that fit is awesome, and pairing him up with Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell, that's absurd. That defense will start to get an identity. So I love that. Josh Newton was an absolute great prospect. So I love that. And we'll get to number 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. And there's only one thing that I want to do for this team, and that's get them some type of dynamism. And the only question is it going to be Xavier Worthy, like another gadget receiver? They have 90 of them on their roster. So I do think I'm going to give them Polk from Washington, just a better all around. I think he could be Mahomes' wide receiver one moving forward. I'm going to give them Polk. I think that's kind of a perfect fit for Mahomes and what they need.
Yeah, I mean, they need help. They need help bad. It can't just be Travis Kelce out there. Obviously, Rashee Rice has looked like he's been a pretty good pick this year. There's a little bit of chemistry, but they need more explosiveness. They need better players. And it does seem like, in back-to-back draft classes, they have gone out of Washington to find players. So it does seem like they're comfortable picking players out of Washington. But yeah, I love that pick. Mahomes does need help. Their offense kind of looks a little anemic this year, which is crazy to say. An offense with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes could look a little anemic, but it seems like they're just leaving some on the bone, and they need to get wide receiver help. So love that pick. And then the 49ers here, I feel like this is actually kind of easy for me. I think I want to give them offensive line help and Amarius Mims, tackle out of Georgia. I think Trent Williams is getting older. You need to protect this. This line has been so dominant, and you need to continue adding to it. And Amarius Mims, just a huge tackle prospect out of Georgia, 6'7", 340 pounds. Let's put him and Trent Williams at tackle, and then let Christian McCaffrey run behind him. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, McKivitz has been so bad at right tackle that you might as well just not even have anyone out there. So yeah, replacing Mike McGlinchey with Mims is a perfect, honestly, replacement, and I do love that. That is a need for sure. That might be their only need. And we'll get on to 31 for the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are kind of a struggle to pick with because they always have so many picks and they always just hit every pick. So they are such a deep roster. It's hard. Any shouts for the Ravens that you can think of?
JT Tuilamola, edge out of Ohio State, feels like a lethal pairing. Obviously, they signed Kyle Van Noy, who will probably just a 1-year signing. They got Jadeveon Clowney, who's having his best season ever at edge, but I don't think they'll have Cal Van Noy next year. And I think adding edge help would be huge. Obviously, Odell Beckham's getting older too, so you could look receiver here. But yeah, I mean, I would probably be looking receiver edge, honestly, for these guys.
I like the Tui Maluau pick. I kind of hesitate because of like Ojabo, who went to Michigan, by the way. That might be some beef on the team. But and Owe, and they seem to bring in a lot of edge rushers.
Jonah
I'm kind of,
Ellis, Paul Kruger vibes, or what's his name? Yeah, Kruger out of Utah, right? Is
yeah,
it
Paul
Paul? There's
Kruger.
like a couple, yeah. Paul
Yeah,
Kruger vibes right there.
that's fine. I do really kind of want to give them Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo just because he's such a my guy. I might just do this just to get his name out here because I do think he could get himself up there into the first round pick. He actually did play in the whatever conference he's in, championship today, and he balled out. He's Mel Kiper's number 9 corner, and I do think Quinyon Mitchell is a guy that kind of gains some respect here in the draft process, and I think I'm going to call my shot on this one. He seems like a Raven. I'm going to give them a corner opposite of Marlon Humphrey that I really like.
I like that. I really like that pick. And yeah, I mean, the Ravens always need defensive backs, and because whoever they pick is going to be good. If Quinyon Mitchell's the pick, if it's whoever it is, it's just going to be an absolute dog. So yeah, I really love that pick, and yeah, I think he is a guy that will rise up draft boards too. So I like you shouting him out and putting him in the first round in this mock. So I think that was well deserved. Honestly, right here, feel like this could, if we were doing like one, I feel like this could be a trade back scenario for the Eagles, just because they love to accumulate picks and always constantly making moves. But if I'm to give the Eagles a player, which they just don't really have a lot of needs, it's funny that their biggest needs on PFF is wide receiver when they literally have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. It's kind of just crazy. It just shows you how strong that team is. Um,
Personally, I think corners a need because they gave Slay and Bradbury 1 year
they
deals
have
and
not
they've been
played
getting
super, yeah,
burned.
yeah. They have not looked very good. We haven't picked a linebacker. I don't know if there's any linebackers worth going in the first round.
Um,
Yeah, I don't
no, I mean Trotter was a pretty good prospect. Peyton Wilson's fun, but I don't know about first round.
Yeah. Ooh. Kamari Lattiser.
Yeah,
I
Lassiter is a beast. I do love that fit.
I mean, obviously they are the Philadelphia Bulldogs at this point. So I don't know. Like you said, Darius Slay's on a 1 year deal. Lock it in. They love Bulldogs. They get them. That's a way to round out the draft. They did that last year with Nolan Smith, who hasn't even really had to get on the field yet, who's going to be electric. And they are the Philadelphia Bulldogs or the Georgia Eagles, however you want to put it.
You honestly have no choice. You have to take a Georgia play for the Eagles. I don't know how I didn't think about that, but honestly, is a perfect fit. Lassiter is at a really good season in Georgia corner for the Eagles. That's beautiful. So yeah, that was really fun. We're draft nerds. We nerded out this whole episode. It was way longer than it probably should have been, but here's our first round. We'll quickly go over it, and yeah, that was really fun. Anything you want to say before we leave?
Just bonus episodes for almost getting to 300 subs. Have to throw that out there, you know. And we probably need a Stores hot take at the end of this. And so I'm trying to, just you talk for a second. I'm going to come up with a good hot take.
Yeah, well, Stores thinks of a hot take. I'll tell you some of my favorite fits, and I mean Michael Penix to the Vikings just that gets me really excited. I mean, just thinking about his deep balls, his beautiful aesthetic deep ball to Justin Jefferson. That's just some crazy stuff. He fits it into tight windows too. So I think that's a beautiful pick. He's being way too slept on, and yeah, I honestly love like every single pick in this mock. I think we did a good job.
The only hot take I can I can think of is I had it on my mind. Peppermint milkshakes are overrated.
That's terrible. That's trash. That's trash. We'll end it all that because that was just a terrible take. Have you even tried one? Chick-fil-A?
I have, and I didn't like it. So hot take: peppermint milkshakes are trash. I'd rather go strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, Oreo. I don't care if it's Christmas season. Peppermint milkshakes are trash.
I mean, I guess I get mine with the chocolate base, so mine's a chocolate peppermint milkshake. So I'm smarter than you, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe if you liked. It really helps the channel grow. And yeah, thanks for 300 subscribers. Peace.
Sure. Peace.